If you don't have a trust fund, or if your dad didn't sell an app for millions of dollars recently, then this video is for you. Because today is about luxury cars. Not the best, most amazingly engineered ones. Oh no. This is about the ones that will turn what little money you already have into dust. And that's why right now, I'm gonna warn you about 8 luxury cars that will probably leave you stranded if you buy one. Let's get into it. Now, I'm hoping the BMW guys don't show up at my door with pitchforks over this one, because our first pick is the E90 generation BMW 335i. Hey, I actually like these cars. In fact, I've been wanting to build one on our sister channel for months now. And in my defense, you guys of all people should understand why this car is on this list. I know you've touched those nasty, sticky, sun-baked door handles, don't lie to me, but interior parts aren't enough. So why is it in this lineup? Well, a lot of the problems with these cars run from one part right to the next. For example, the fuel systems are extremely complicated with multiple pumps and high-pressure direct injection. And shocker, both pumps fail. So do the fuel injectors, and they're the pricey piezoelectric ones that require specific coating to the ECM. And problems with fueling result in a lean running engine. And what does running lean do to an engine? Say it with me, explode. And the fun doesn't end there, my friends. You've seen the memes about BMWs being in a perpetual puddle of their own oil, and while it is definitely satire, all jokes have a shred of truth in them. And this 3 Series? Well, valve covers, oil cooler gaskets, oil filter housings, oil pans, and rear main seals all leak, leaving you a beautiful yet expensive rainbow-colored pool of liquid on the ground. Then there are the cooling system issues, not helped by the complex and expensive water pump, as well as plain old turbocharger failures. And that's the whole reason you buy these things, it's for those turbos, am I right? But that leads me to one important caveat. People do still buy these cars because, well, they're comfortable, nice to look at, and have nearly unlimited tuning potential. The strong factory internals and out-of-the-box twin-turbo system provide a perfect basis to make double the factory output consistently. But unless you've got thousands to spare in your bank account, or are able to perform some of these complicated services on your own, the E90 335i is a car you're probably better off admiring from afar. It's the world-beating, engine-less, and sleek-looking sedan that took electric cars to the next level in the industry. But the Model S, with all of its ease of ownership benefits, outrageous performance, and virtually unrivaled safety, is sometimes kind of a turd when it comes to reliability. See, electric motors are not as plug-and-play as you might think. Electric motors get hot, they need a ton of wiring, and they need cooling to ensure they don't turn the car into a molten pile of lithium. And those regulatory systems, just like with any old ICE car, can and do fail. The battery's cooling system in particular is one that often has big leaks, which on its own is an issue. But if the drive components get too hot, they can mess up that complicated wiring I mentioned, and well, you're in for quite an expensive trip to the dealership. The Model S has also had issues in the interior. On the older models especially, the big infotainment screen was prone to bugging out or outright failing. And in a Tesla, that screen controls everything, which makes it even more frustrating when it has issues. And even though there is no engine, this is still a car with moving parts that can break, and the Model S's suspension in particular is known to have problems as well. Control arms, ball joints, even the bolts that hold it all together are known to come apart over time, something that is likely because of the car's high weight, putting constant pressure on those parts. Their air ride systems have pretty high failure rates after just 50,000 miles on average, and I won't even go into the build quality issues because, yeah. With all that though, some Model S's have proven themselves dependable, and if you are in the market for a used EV, it's a lot of car for the money. Fingers crossed you get a good one, I guess. The BMW X5 is an SUV that has had ups and downs over its production lifecycle, but for the most part, the used ones are kind of a nightmare. If you had the money and time to maintain the cooling issues and the oil leaks, the older inline-six X5s could be decent, but they still cost people thousands each year to fix. The V8 models, though, have been known to suffer much more severe failures. Timing chains, valve stem seals. And throughout the 2010s, the X5 didn't get much better. In fact, Consumer Reports gave the 2014 X5 a terrible 1 out of 5 reliability rating. A lot of the complaints come from fuel pumps disintegrating, suspension failures, interior quality issues, electrical problems, and of course, general engine nightmares. It's truly unfortunate considering that the X5 was one of the earliest SUVs to have semi-sports car-like driving dynamics. BMW did a great job on the chassis and made genuine strides in a new and evolving automotive segment, but they dropped the ball almost everywhere else. Funny enough, the new X5 is actually a class leader in reliability, so if you can swing it, swoop one of those up instead of the old one. This next one is genuinely difficult to put on this list, but alas, 'tis the truth. The B6 and B7 Audi S4s are some of the coolest driver's cars both on paper and on a back road. We're talking a symphonic 4.2-liter V8, quattro all-wheel drive, and a manual transmission option, all pulled together with great suspension tuning and a comfy Audi interior. When all those components work together, oof, awesome daily driver sports sedans. But when it all goes wrong, and it will, those four rings start to feel more like handcuffs. The big one here is the timing chains. You see, Audi used a chain instead of a regular old belt for the timing assembly on both the B6 and the B7, which, in theory, would be stronger and longer lasting. In fact, Audi's intent was for this part to stay functional and problem-free for the lifetime of the car. They even put the timing chain at the back of the engine because they thought you'd never have to touch it. Turns out, though, it was the exact opposite. The timing chain guides are made of plastic. Genius, right? And tend to wear down, break, and, you guessed it, fail, allowing your timing chain to do whatever its heart desires. That's not good. A timing chain that's not functioning properly will instantly change the timing of the engine, and if you're unlucky, destroy the entire thing. These cars also have that classic German trait of leaking oil from various parts like the oil filter housings, valve covers, and really any other places it can. So unless you're willing to take the engine and transmission out of your car every so often to replace the timing chain or spend thousands to get it done professionally, you might have to just bite the bullet on a B6 or a B7. But the B8, on the other hand, was much more reliable with its supercharged V6. Earlier S-tronic dual-clutch transmissions had some problems, but a 2013 Plus S4 is solid. No, it's not a V8, but it'll save your wallet from certain death. When VW took on the entire luxury car world back in the early 2000s, they made one of the coolest cars in history, the Volkswagen Fate. This whale of a sedan had insane features like an optional W12 engine, semi-active four-corner air suspension, individual climate controls for each seat, and a million more. The car deserves its own video because it was revolutionary from an engineering perspective at the time. But with all that complexity came some severe reliability issues that would overshadow the achievements of this luxury sedan. The main issue comes with electrical failures. To make all the crazy features on this car work took a lot of wiring and electrical connections. That just ended up giving the Phaeton more places to fail. There are very few Phaetons in existence that still have function over every original feature, and without those, there's not a lot to justify buying one. Not to mention, the W8 and W12 engines weren't exactly bulletproof machines on their own either. The complexity of these things leads to long repair times, even bigger repair costs. Motor Trend actually had a long-term Phaeton press car, and while it was thoroughly enjoyed, even they couldn't escape the electronic failures of things like the automatic trunk lid and adjustable lumbar support. They are super cool cars, but you should really seriously do your research before considering buying one. The Mercedes-Benz SL is a storied nameplate that has been on some of their most desirable cars ever. They exude class, comfort, and money. And by exuding money, I mean that everyone knows you're rich because otherwise you wouldn't be able to afford fixing this overly complicated mess of a car. Right off the bat, there's the brake-by-wire system that genuinely needs a repair after a finite amount of brake usage. Then there's the adjustable hydraulic suspension system, which, while can be used like a lowrider, is extremely complex and fragile. And it's not a question of if it will break, it's when. And then there's the hydraulically powered convertible top that uses way too many overcomplicated cylinders and could, at any time, pour hydraulic fluid onto your head. And mind you, hydraulic fluid doesn't taste as sweet as ATF does. Don't ask how I know. These cars can be enticing though, with trim levels offering V12 engines and some serious performance figures, but trust me, this will trap you and your wallet just like your high school girlfriend. British cars are often seen through rose-tinted glasses, a nostalgia for a classy and elegant essence that can make anyone look rich. And while that may be true, you need to take those damn things off, because cars like the Jaguar XJ are going to bankrupt you. These long and lumbering sedans from across the pond, while usually great looking, have issues almost everywhere else. On both the V6 and V8 models, rubber PCV valves tend to wear out and cause engine problems, valve covers tend to crack, vacuum pumps start to leak oil, and the intake valve runners tend to get caked with carbon buildup, causing big, expensive cleanings. Even the sound-enhancing fake engine noise system has been known to fail. And because this is a British car, all those issues will be compounded by expensive parts and availability problems that'll make sure you regret overlooking everything for that sexy Jaguar body. I mean, I get it. The XJ is stunning, and when they work, they drive beautifully. But trust me, this cat will bite you where it hurts the most. Your wallet. While Jag is one of Europe's most historic luxury brands, in America we have Cadillac. An 8th generation Cadillac DeVille sedan was, unfortunately, just about as reliable as that XJ. You see, during this era of GM, they were using one of the most hated and controversial engines in automotive history, the Northstar V8. We're talking head gasket issues, oil consumption problems, and of course, the infamous rear main seal failure that'll cost an arm and a leg to repair. The Northstar also had big problems with cooling systems that led to excessive overheating, and problems with a faulty crank position sensor that would screw up the engine's responsiveness or cause the thing to stall. GM just plain dropped the ball with this engine design, and that's why the 4.6-liter Northstar is one to run as fast and far away from as possible. But the Northstar isn't the end of the story here. The DeVille's non-engine parts have also had their fair share of problems. Things like the power window regulators and climate control systems are commonly faulty on these Cadillacs, and the wires in the steering column tend to break, which sets off the anti-theft alarm system and leaves your car completely unstartable. They may be comfy, and Saul Goodman may have driven one, but the difference is he could probably sue GM and make some money, while you'd just be left with a money pit. So, if you already own one of these cars, maybe consider selling before you run into some real issues, if you know what I mean. And if you think we missed some truly terrible luxury cars on this list, let us know which ones would have made your list down in the comments. Either way, we look forward to seeing you guys in the next one, and make sure to like and subscribe for more ideal content. See you next week.